Our feature tonight has a pretty unique gimmick. Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Double neck guitars are pretty cool. It's a way for musicians on stage to dual wield two instruments. Sometimes it's a 6-string electric guitar with a jangly 12-string. Sometimes it's a mandolin and a guitar. Sometimes, like in Elvis's case, it's a bass and a guitar. There have been many a different double neck guitars throughout many a different brands. If you want a double neck Stratocaster, they're out there. You want a Jaguar and a bass 6? Yup. Is a double telly more your style? Or what about headless? Or crazy BC Rich? What I'm trying to get at here is there have been a lot of double necks in the world, but this one has a very unique gimmick. It splits in half. Kind of reminds me of my April Fool's episode from this year, where I crudely cut in half a Gibson double neck just because I've always wanted to do it. Little did I know Ibanez beat me to the punch all the way back in the mid-70s. This is just such a fascinating idea, because this isn't somebody who just ruined a guitar. This was actually a prototypical idea. Let's face it, double necks, they're not the most practical to use every day. There's a lot of guys who love them in the recording studio because the 6-string side just has a very different feel and sound to it, and you get some of the resonant frequencies of the other non-played instrument if you have them both active. But just the big, solid chunks of wood that they do have a vibe. But what if you just want one or the other? That's when this comes in. So apparently they made 3 of these, and it has this interconnecting design on your 6-string that locks to put them together when you want them together, but you can also play the guitars separately. Now, as we learned in my episode, yeah, it kind of makes the guitars a bit unbalanced, and that's probably why this one never made it to production. But you could potentially add some weights. But the problem I ran into is I had to rewire each side to have its own thing going on. But that's where this one is different. It has its own individual output jacks for each guitar, and then our 12-string has 3 different controls with 2 mini toggles. Whereas our 6-string side has your regular 4 controls, a pickup selector, and a mini toggle. So I'm curious, is the mini toggle a coil split? Because that would be very cool and versatile. And then maybe we could assume the same over here on these pickups, but I'm not sure what that other one would be, unless it's a mini 3-way toggle. They probably didn't want to put 2 on because it'd be a bit too boisterous. But then maybe 2 volumes and a single master tone, if we can believe our knobs. That all seems to work. And when you butt them back up together, it's a pretty flush fit. You can definitely see the metal brackets there. And whoa, look at the radius of that bridge. That's insane. Or maybe it's just the photo angle. But then when we flip it over to the back, this is just a super modular design. You want to replace your neck because something went wrong? Yeah, it's a bolt-on neck. Very interesting to say the least. Now, the tuners on the 6-string side have been replaced with some Grovers, and judging by what we see over here, probably a good thing. Although I will say, for cheapy tuners, those look pretty nice, cosmetically. I think it'd be hilarious. The guitar player just splits his guitar in half, hands the 12-string to the singer to play for part of the song. And then they do a dual-wielding solo together, Hotel California style. It's an idea for someone. But you also have to remember, this is when Ibanez was using Gibson's headstock design, so that kind of makes it cool that it's from that era too. But how much are they asking for this weird design? Well, they started off at $8,500, now they're down to $68. It's been listed for 5 months, and they've only had 1 offer. And apparently there's a very affluent businessman in Europe who has the other 2, and he's wanted this 3rd one, but he doesn't want to pay this price, which I can totally understand. It's unique, but very limited buyer pool. But it's offered by Guitars West in California if you're interested in making him an offer. But while we're talking about beautiful double necks, you've been seeing some B-roll footage of the Slash Signature EDS 1275 that came out a couple of years ago that was aged. Here's one for you collectors. Over in Japan right now, there's actually an original for sale. Now its price is ask, which means, yeah, probably pretty expensive. But take a look at that, an original Ebony version. You don't see that every day, and I'm sure that's very valuable to collectors due to Slash's affiliation. But if you don't want Murphy Lab aging and you want the real deal, this one's looking pretty nice. However, it's in my experience, buying vintage guitars out of Japan that have been heavily used, a lot of times they have issues that get lost in the translation or they don't get fully disclosed. But it is out there if you're looking. And oof! They will not answer detailed questions by phone or email. Business negotiations will be held only at the store. Over-the-counter sales only, so they're not shipping it. And they want to know 2 days before your visit. Talk about a hard sale. But if you don't want to fly to Japan, I think I know a guy who might be able to help you. But next up, I want to share a finish that is going to divide the guitar community, even more so than Silver Burst used to. Look at this. Green, sparkle, burst, crackle, marshmallow. I don't know what to call it. This is the one good thing to come out of all the scammers, because this popped up on Reverb one night for $2,500, but when I click on it, this is an instantly recognizable dealer style photo. He used to go by CHW1 over on eBay, but then I think he sold his business or they joined together. So brand new account, international. Yeah, it was a scam. But just like the brokers of Japan, sometimes you find some interesting stuff. So let's dive into this. At first I was like, no, don't like it at all, but it's an interesting topic. But then you look at it from this angle and it's like, okay, I kinda see what they were doing. It looks better when you've got your snot green on this side, and then the crackle paint burst job continues over to the edge. And then looking at it from this angle, the cream binding kind of comes into play. It's one of those beautifully ugly guitars in my opinion. I would not mind having it for $2,500, let's say that. But if it's like $8,000, yeah, I'd probably pass. But it looks like you've got some gold sparkle within it too. And you've got a nice dark fretboard. It kind of reminds me of my Lavender R9 that we had documented not too long ago that we got out of that estate sale. But hey, would you look at that? You got it on the sides too. And cool, also the back. That's like a very Norland era burst the back of a standard type thing. But what's really cool is we've got something strange on the back of the headstock. Instead of bursting another light green color, they just decided to go black for some reason. It's unique. I kinda like it. It reminds me of a reverse burst silver burst. But our serial number dates this one to 2010, and according to our stolen description, it was part of the Gibson Roadshow of that year, so there might not be more than one of these in existence. They were just kind of showing off. So thank you, scammers, for showing me a new guitar. And we've got 3 more to share with you tonight. Now this one's from China, which I know what you're thinking, you're probably scared, but look, 5 out of 5 stars. I always suggest actually clicking on it. That's what I don't like about new Reverb is, I think it was about 6 months ago, they made feedback just like completely irrelevant. It used to show you how many, because just getting 1 5-star would show that, and they could just buy a 5-cent item to make you look like you're not gonna get scammed. But if you go over here, he's got other guitars. The backgrounds match for the most part. It looks like the same guy. Most importantly, they've bought 3 items and they've sold 9 items. I would say this is a real seller. But this is a gorgeous Les Paul Elegant, the second version, when they don't have the big custom shop banner on the headstock. That is just a gorgeous green quilt top. And you can tell it's really yellowed over and the sun has faded some of the green, so it's got its own unique hue. I suppose there is a minute chance that it could have started life as blue because the clear coat has turned it green. But I've seen a lot more emerald elegance than I have blue. I suppose one good way to check would be to remove one of the pickups. Check out the abalone on this one. That's extremely figured. And that coloring matches great with what we're left on the guitar. Oh, surprisingly, it still has the COA. And it looks like it's got a little bit of wear and tear, but overall not too bad. This is one of those times where I think this would have sold on Reverb already if so many buyers weren't scared of purchasing internationally. Like, don't get me wrong, it is a tough process, but once you do it a couple of times, it becomes a little bit easier. There's always hiccups here and there, but I do offer a forwarding service. Sometimes that works for bringing guitars back. It really just depends on the country. You can email me for more information on that. Next up, Paul Fraley's Guitarsenal listed a pretty interesting orange widow known as Jaguar Orange. So what's kind of cool about this one is, yeah, you get all your orange widowed effects. Everything's orange, including your binding because of the paint they put over top of it. It's a nice flank top, but I was thinking the pickups had been replaced in it because I didn't see that too often. But no, I did not know about this series. Sweetwater in the year 2013 did their own limited run of custom widows, but the finishes were Cobra Brown, Hornet Yellow, Stingray Blue, Jaguar Orange. And they all have these rosewood fretboards, because you gotta remember, 2013, that's right in the beginning of the Richlight era, and people were like, no, I want real wood, so they did that. And Sweetwater always likes to make their limited editions extra fancy, so they have coil splitting on the knobs, and custom buckers. What's even cooler is it appears these even have stingers. Now, I would be all over this series had they actually put the animals on the back. That's where they went wrong. That's why the Black Widow, Cobra, and Centipede are cool to me, because they got the little animal decals. Man, Stingray Blue, if it had an actual stingray, would be pretty sweet. And to wrap up tonight's episode, let's go back to Japan. They've got one of the late 70s original pink Paisley Stratocasters. I always thought it'd be cool to see a Paisley Stratocaster. If I remember the lore correctly, there were a few of them in the original Paisley era, but here's apparently one done in 1979. It appears to have held up okay. You can definitely see some lacquer cracking, but you don't see these all the time, especially with the original ashtray still on it. It seems a lot of YouTubers have been giving love to the 70s Stratocasters. Samuraiguitarist just recently purchased an Antigua, which is awesome. I love the Antigua finish too. Then Tyler Larson bought that blue one a little bit ago. But typically speaking, the 70s Fenders don't sell for all that much. And as long as you set them up really good and you get a nice example, yeah, they're gonna be fine. Other times, they're not so good. It just depends what you got. But you can check out my take on that in this episode. Now, this seller is calling this 79 a prototype of some sort. I would imagine it might have been like a NAMM show display piece. Proving that is very hard because getting photos from NAMM shows of that year, it's just next to impossible. But if anybody happens to have it and wants to share it with the world, feel free to let me know. But how much are they asking for this one? Well, just ask. I'd imagine they'd have to be asking about $50,000, hoping that they get like a $20,000 offer or something. You gotta remember, there's not many original Paisley Strats, but a 79 would not be more valuable than one of the original Paisley Strats. So it just kind of depends where that one falls, and once you determine that, then you could probably figure out where this one should be. But that's outside of the knowledge that I have at this exact point in time. But alright, Troglodytes, that's gonna wrap it up for tonight. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.